Hello class, we're going to continue in chapter 41. This is part 2, and in this video we'll be looking at appraisal rights. So if you have a merger or a consolidation that has been proposed, it's been approved by the board, then now it comes to the shareholders. All right, the shareholders do not have to go along if they do not think it's a good deal. So they are allowed to dissent from the merger or the consolidation. Now, a dissenting shareholder, when they cast their vote against the proposed merger, they are exercising what is called appraisal rights. Right? And when they exercise their appraisal rights, this shareholder can have their rights appraised and demand and receive the fair market value of their shares as of the day prior to the vote on the merger or the consolidation. And the reason they've chosen the day prior to the vote is because on the day of the vote, the shares will reflect that vote. Many times it reflects a bounce, and so there'll be an appreciation in the shares, maybe temporary, but there might be a small or even a large appreciation. It could also go the opposite way and drop a bit in price, right? Depending again on the circumstances. So that's why they've chosen fair market value as of the day prior to that vote. All right, what's the process though? Just so you have an idea. All right, the shareholders should make a written notice of their intent to demand payment. All right, at or about the time of the shareholder meeting. All right, the corporation in response will make a written offer to purchase the shares, and at the same time include financial information, so the balance sheet and the income statement. And the shareholder who is dissenting needs to understand, though, that once they exercise their appraisal rights, he or she will no longer have status as a shareholder. So that means that if there's any subsequent vote, I don't think there are many things that are voted on after the merger, but if there are any, this dissenting shareholder will not get a chance to vote. And if there is any declared dividend after this point of the vote on the merger or consolidation, the dissenting shareholder will not receive those dividends either. All right, now there is a problem in your text, and I'd like to take a look at that. I'm going to go out to your textbook, but it's also been typed into the PowerPoint. So let me just close out here from the PowerPoint and just switch over. Here we are, we're in your textbook now, problem 41-1. Let me read it to you and then we'll walk through, and just so you have an idea of what this might look like, what appraisal rights might look like. So, Alir owns 10,000 shares of Ajax Corp. Her shares represent a 10% ownership interest in Ajax. Zeta Corp is interested in acquiring Ajax in a merger, and the board of directors of each corporation has approved the merger. The shareholders of Zeta have already approved the acquisition, and Ajax has called for a shareholders meeting to approve the merger. Alir disapproves of the merger and does not want to accept Zeta shares for the Ajax shares she holds. The market price of Ajax shares is $20 per share the day before the shareholder vote, and it drops to $16 on the day the shareholders of Ajax approve the merger. Discuss Alir's rights in this matter, beginning with the notice of the proposed merger. All right, so let's just try to recall, somewhat the process that I have, walked through briefly with you. Once the notice of the proposed merger comes out, then Alir knows that she'll have an opportunity to vote, so she needs to dissent. She needs to register a dissent in writing with the corporation, all right, demanding the fair market value of her shares. And it's important that we remember that the fair market value will be determined as of the day before the vote by the overall shareholders. So the value that Alir can expect given the facts of this problem, the value will be $20 per share. All right. And then the last part that we just discussed is Alir can then expect that once she has exercised her dissent, she will no longer be considered a shareholder and will no longer participate in any of the corporation's business and will not receive any dividends should they be declared. I'm going to switch back to the PowerPoint just so we'll end on the PowerPoint. All right. And our next topic in part 3, we'll start looking at purchase of assets.